Ooh, suddenly soundtracks are here to provide you. Suddenly soundtracks will show you care. Oh, be more the soundtrack inside you with sweet understanding. Oh, with sweet understanding. With sweet understanding. Soundtracks are your friend. Hey guys, welcome to yet another epic episode of Suddenly Soundtracks, the show here on Take-3 Productions where we review and go through a movie musical song by song and judge a movie solely based on the soundtrack that it provides. Today we are doing 1991's classic, Disney's Beauty and the Beast.
Walt Disney Pictures presents its all-new 30th full-length animated motion picture.
Is anyone here?
Mama, there's a girl in the castle.
Good.
A girl! The classic story of Beauty and the Beast. He was a lonely beast, cursed by a mysterious spell, and she was the beautiful young girl who could set him and his kingdom free.
She's the one! She has come to break the spell!
They were two complete opposites.
I don't want to have anything to do with him.
She is being so difficult.
Until something wonderful happened.
There's something sweet.
Straighten up.
And almost kind.
Show me the smile.
But he was mean and he was coarse and unrefined. And now he's dear.
You look so...
and so unsure.
stupid.
I wonder why I didn't see it there before.
It's a story filled with fun.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Adventure.
Sacre bleu! Invaders!
And dozens of wonderful new Disney characters.
Keep it down.
Featuring 6 new songs from the Academy Award-winning composer and lyricist of The Little Mermaid. This holiday season, share the fun, the magic, and the music of an entertainment event you'll never forget. Disney's Beauty and the Beast.
Yes, indeed, everybody has so much nostalgia for this movie, including my 2 panelists on this panel tonight. Mr. Jacob Blunden, how are you doing today, my man? And why do you love Beauty and the Beast so much, and when did you first see it?
I don't remember the first time I saw Beauty and the Beast because I was way too young and I don't remember that. But I do love this movie because when I was in high school rediscovering all of the Disney animated films, this was the one that just hit me the most and you really got an understanding of why this is the only animated film to be nominated for Best Picture. I know Up and Toy Story 3 have, but that was when they changed the rules. This was the one that did it with 5. That to me there is such a powerful and incredible story to this movie.
It's very, very special in what it achieved. Vanessa Fitzsimmons from Late to the Party herself, returning once again. How are you doing, Vanessa? And when did you first see this movie, and what are your thoughts on Beauty and the Beast and your memories of it?
I know that I was really, really young when I first watched Beauty and the Beast. We share the same birth year. But I remember loving this movie because of Belle. And when people say that representation matters, it does, because Beauty and the Beast became my favorite because of Belle. Her being a brunette hair, I just fell in love with her, and I felt like I connected with her more because I was brunette as well. And I loved her power that she had for herself, that nobody else could take that away from her. And then the music was just so much fun, and it was just so heartbreaking and had a lot of heart to it. And so I fell in love with Beauty and the Beast like the moment I watched it.
Yeah, same with me. I was actually born in 1991 as well, and when I first saw Beauty and the Beast scared me. But over time, I just loved this movie so much and the music that it provided, because this is written by Howard Ashman and Alan Menken, who also wrote my favorite musical, Little Shop of Horrors. And they were such a great team. May Howard Ashman rest in peace. And I feel like this is their masterstroke, their masterpiece to all audiences and all children of all ages. And this musical stands the test of time and will continue to stand the test of time. Its remake, on the other hand, I dread when I have to go through that piece of crap. But this one is amazing. I loved it so much as a kid, and the animation is gorgeous. And this is some of the first computer effects in a Disney movie too when we get to that scene. So guys, we're going to go right into Beauty and the Beast with the opening number, Belle.
There goes the baker with his tray, like always. The same old bread and rolls to sell. Every morning just the same, since the morning that we came to this poor provincial town.
Good morning, Belle.
Now, I always say on this show that the most important songs in a musical are your opening number and your finale. If you can open a number and have a good clincher, you at least have some semblance of you doing your job. And Belle does that to the 10th degree. And on top of that, it builds a world where Belle lives and who she is and how people mock her. I'm going to throw it over to you, Vanessa. What are your thoughts on Belle?
I think that it opens the story very well, and it's a song that kind of, you understand what's going on with Belle and where she is and where she's coming from, and then where she like lives and everything, and her interaction with everybody in the town. And right off the bat, you could tell that she's very different from everybody, and this song truly like represents like what is going on with that.
Indeed. Jacob, what are your thoughts on Belle?
What I love about this song and just this opening to the movie is that you do understand exactly who Belle is in 3 minutes, in like 4 minutes. You get the entire world. You get, all right, these are her obstacles. This is who she is. You get the formation of the story straight there, right at the start. And that's what makes this so perfect, is because there's no like prolonging the, where are we going with this? This is who Belle is, and it doesn't come across as exposition. You see her do these things. You see her be smart. You see her reading books. Like you get a formation of who the character of Belle is.
Yes, I completely agree, and it actually just it establishes a lot of things you need to know that move forward into this movie. Like you also are introduced to Gaston in the middle of this picture, in this sequence, and his partner LeFou, and he obviously focuses his sights on Belle, which is going to be a huge thing later on in the film, and it just establishes things so beautifully. Now, the thing is, on the soundtrack, Belle is followed immediately by the reprise of Belle that happens like a little later, like about roughly like 10-15 minutes into the film, after the whole sequence with her dad in the forest happens, where he finds the Beast's castle. So we're going to actually go through this as well. Belle's reprise is basically Belle in a field, restating how much she doesn't fit into this world, and it's just a reprise of the actual song we were just talking about.
I want adventure in the great wide somewhere. I want it more than I can tell.
And then Philippe comes in and she realizes something is deathly wrong. This reprise is very short. Jacob, what are your thoughts on the reprise of Belle?
Overall, I really do love the reprise, but the thing that the most memorable part of the reprise, obviously, is the "I Want Adventure," where she runs up the field and I want adventure, and you really solidify who Belle is and what does she want in this film and what is her arc in the film going to be. You also get that not like, you know, okay, it's Gaston is not for her at all. This is not who she wants. And it sets up her arc perfectly.
I completely agree 100%. Vanessa, what are your thoughts on the reprise?
Basically, it's just her solidifying exactly what she wants to do. She doesn't want to stay here in this provincial town that she's in. She wants to go out and she wants to search the world because she sees what these people in this town are like. And it's just something that she is not wanting at all. And so her going through the field and like screaming literally at the top of her lungs, saying like, this is me and I need to get out.
Yes, and I feel like again it establishes who she is. I don't know necessarily that it needed to be reprised. I get that it's there, and I like that it's there. And it kind of meshes in with everything else. But I feel like just having the strong opening would have been even just enough for myself. But I don't know if you guys have differing opinions. But for me, I would say the actual opening of Belle gets a rockin'. The Belle reprise, although it's very good and I love how it's incorporated into the film, I would just suggest that you download it. It's still a solid reprise. Jacob, what are your ratings?
I was with you. I was, when I was going rocking for Belle and download for Belle's reprise, but when I re-listened to it, that moment of I Want Adventure when she runs, that what Paige O'Hara does with that, this is a rocking. This is absolutely a rocking, and I would give both rocking just because she brings so much emotion to that song and that moment in the film and in the soundtrack. I can that's a rocking. I can listen to this over and over again.
I can see that. Her voice is fantastic. Vanessa, what are your ratings?
So Belle gets a rockin' because it's like a full story and you get a whole lot of Belle in that. And then of course I actually agree with you, Chris. I gave the reprise a download because it's like a tidbit of just what a much stronger song that Belle is, and it's just kind of following along with it. So it's like on a tail end.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any three of us disagree that it's not a fantastic reprise. It's still a great reprise. I would just say that the opening number is just so iconic, and you can't really take away from that. Okay, moving on. We get into... Okay, I was alluding to that Belle's father was captured by the Beast in his palace. We're not gonna, since we're judging this solely based on the soundtrack, I'm just gonna skim along the plot points of the film just to give you some context to what the songs are. So essentially, after Belle's father is captured, Belle comes to rescue him and she trades herself for him and then becomes the Beast's prisoner. And during this, the servants all say, hey, it's been like 15 years since we've had somebody in the castle to serve. Why don't we serve them? And we get probably one of the most iconic Disney songs of all time.
Be our guest, be our guest, put our service to the test. Tie your napkin round your neck, Sherry, and we provide the rest.
Be Our Guest is very much like it has the feel and the placement in the film very much like another Disney film which was Under the Sea. It very much feels like that from Under the Sea and Little Mermaid, and I really, really love Be Our Guest. I think Be Our Guest is a lot of fun. I think it is absolutely just that. It is the iconic song of the film because it is the most fun. It's the one that, hey, you want kids will love that song the most because it is the one that's most enjoyable. It's the one I remember as a kid adoring because it was the most enjoyable. Now, I think there isn't a lot of depth to the song, and I don't think there is a lot of meaning and a lot of nuance to it, but there is this just absolute pure fun, and that is great, and that is important, and that's why I think this is a song that is amazing for that.
It's very, very important to the Disney catalog. Vanessa, what are your thoughts on Be Our Guest?
I love being Be Our Guest. I think that it, just like Belle tells us the story of who Belle is. I think that Be Our Guest tells the story of all the servants in the castle and what they've been going through all this time, and how excited they are that somebody's finally there to kind of give them life a little bit, because they were feeling down and they just were giving up, and they just felt like it was never gonna change for them. And then when Belle came, they were just full of life, and then they were just ready to show her the world again, basically, for what they from their perspective. And I just love the song itself, because like Jacob said, it's just so much fun, and you get a lot of heart in the song as well.
Indeed, and actually, you get pretty much a finale song as like the third song in the film. You pretty much get a show-stopping number like really early in the film, and it's really jaw-dropping. And yes, as Jacob said, it does give you kind of vibes of Under the Sea, which was also a movie written by Alan Menken and Howard Ashman. So they use some similar motifs. In fact, uh, this kind of motif is also kind of seen with Skid Row and Little Shop of Horrors. It's kind of the staple of Alan Menken and Howard Ashman, and I feel like this song in particular is a classic for a reason, and it's really long. It's really long for a Disney movie, and I feel like it doesn't feel like it. There's a lot of set pieces, a lot of great animation is here for 1991, and there's a lot of great stuff to love about Be Our Guest. Vanessa, what do you give Be Our Guest?
I gave it a rockin'.
Mm-hmm.
I think that with how fun it is and how enjoyable, I'm just listening to it, that rockin' is the right
Indeed.
rating for this song.
You can listen to this song without even watching the gorgeous animation and still admire how much work went into these lyrics and music, and how and why this is such a classic. I too give it a rockin'. Jacob, are you on the same board?
I absolutely give it a rocking. This is a really, really fun. This is probably my favorite song when I was a kid, and yeah, it's absolutely a rocking.
And then we move on to probably one of the most famous villain Disney songs of all time. We are, as I alluded to before, we were introduced to Gaston. Well, he's sitting in a pub. He's sitting in a pub with all his friends drinking, and this song called Gaston is pretty self-explanatory.
No one's slick as Gaston, no one's quick as Gaston, no one's next as incredibly thick as Gaston.
If there was ever a song that was more egotistical, more prideful than this villain song, I have not seen it. Gaston is basically a drinking song, toasting one of the biggest assholes in Disney cinema. It's true. And there's a lot of interesting things with this song on the soundtrack. There's a whole cut sequence that they cut from the movie that's interwoven into the soundtrack at the end, where they spell out his name, which is actually my favorite part of the song. It sucks that that was cut. But, this whole entire song in general was just it oozes Disney villain song. Vanessa, what are your thoughts on Gaston?
I totally agree with you. The
Yeah.
ending when he's like spelling out his name is probably one of my favorite parts of this song. But then it's like you said too, like you could like drink to this song, and being older now, that's a good plus. But other than that, I think this is definitely, like all of the other songs, I think that Alan Menken and Howard perfectly described all of the characters through all of these songs, especially Gaston. Gaston is so perfect for who Gaston is, and the way that the song is too, and they're just praising him, and he's just taking and basking in all of this glory. That's what this song is. This song is just so glorious for him, and it's just a lot of fun to sing and dance to.
All right, I'll be on the island. I think the addition in the soundtrack hurts the song. Now, look, I am a purist. I am very much a purist when it comes to Beauty and the Beast. The movie is perfect for me. I think this is Disney's best. This is the most perfect film Disney have ever made. I don't think you can change anything. And so when I listen to the soundtrack and the songs changed, it sounds weird. It doesn't link with me, and it goes for too long, and it just doesn't work.
Wow.
It doesn't work in my messed up, this film is perfect, you cannot change anything about this film. And that's why there's another certain song where I despise it because it changed a version of the film. And that is why this, to me, it is still a really great song. It is a lot of fun. I enjoy the hell out of it. In the movie, it is damn near perfect. In the soundtrack, that the addition at the end drives me mad every single time I hear it, and so yeah, to me it knocks it down because of the addition in the soundtrack.
I don't know how to think about that, Jacob, but before we get into rating this one, we have to go into actually another oddity about this soundtrack, is that there's actually the reprise of Gaston kind of that's on the soundtrack happens literally right after this song happens. Basically, Maurice comes into the tavern and he talks about this beast, and they throw him out because they think he's crazy. And then they have a reprise where maybe he's on to something, and maybe he can actually get Belle, and the basically the reprise of Gaston shows that he is truly evil.
LeFou, I'm afraid I've been thinking. A dangerous pastime? I know.
Not just an asshole. You go from the asshole song to him being truly, truly, truly evil. And I feel like this reprise complements the other song really, really well. Jacob, I'm going to throw it back to you. What are your thoughts on the reprise of Gaston?
If we're going by the soundtrack version, if I'm sitting down listening to the soundtrack, the reprise annoys me because it does include clips from the movie. And I get annoyed whenever you include a huge chunk of dialogue. And it is literally, it's the context of the song, which, great, okay, fair enough. I can understand why you're including the context, but when you're listening to the soundtrack, it kind of gets a bit annoying. And to me, that's where this thing downfalls. The line of, look, LeFou, I've been thinking, a dangerous pastime, I know. I use that all the time because I love that line so much. And that is really, really elevating this for me. But in terms of just listening to the soundtrack, it's frustrating that they put such a long clip from the film in this reprise, and that to me it does knock it down a bit for me.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna get to the transformation scene. I feel like had they done what the transformation finale did and just kept the underscore up until the actual song on the soundtrack, it would have benefited it a lot. And I feel like it's a soundtrack for a reason. We don't watch a movie to hear the movie. I actually get your points entirely. Vanessa, what are your thoughts on the reprise?
Within the movie itself, I think that it works perfectly. But to listen to it without having those visuals there, and you're just kind of listening to it, it just doesn't really do anything for me. I'm just like, okay, he's just talking about getting revenge and wanting to get Belle in some way, whether it be taking his dad and throwing him away. So I'm like, okay, cool. And then I move on. Like, I don't really stay and listen to it as much.
Okay, so it's kind of forgettable-ish for you.
Mhm.
I feel like we're not going to be as universal on this one at all. Okay, so I'm going to throw it to you, Jacob. What do you give Gaston, and what do you give its reprise?
Okay, Gaston, I give a download. I think Gaston is because of the I give it a download because of the addition of that ending. On the soundtrack, it knocks it down a peg because of the addition of that on the soundtrack. The reprise I give down to I'm giving it down to a download because as much, but it's a lot lower of a download. It's not, whereas in Gaston is kind of on the cusp between download and rockin'. The reprise is on the cusp of one-time listen and download because of the addition of that extra minute. It's a full minute of dialogue, and it's just, when you're listening through the soundtrack, it is really, really disconcerting and takes you out of the soundtrack really quickly, and that is a problem for me. And it's just a problem I have with soundtracks that include dialogue unless it's part of the soundtrack in of itself, and it's just its own single track that you can skip the entire track. So that's just to me.
Vanessa, what do you give Gaston and its reprise?
I give Gaston a rockin' because I think that it's the perfect song for Gaston. Such a good villain song for Gaston. And then for the reprise, I actually give it a download because of that line, that dangerous pastime I know. Like, I love that line too. And so I will listen to that song just for that line because it's just perfect.
Wow, you guys, like, I actually gave both Gaston and Gaston's reprise a rockin' because I feel like they both complement each other. I love the addition on the soundtrack with them spelling out his name and everything. I love those lyrics in there, and I love the reprise. I mean, I could get around the dialogue. I'm used to it. I listen to a lot of soundtracks with dialogue in it. I'm fine with it. I just feel like they both complement each other so well, and the second reprise basically kind of cements the fact that he's sinister. He's not just an asshole. He's a very sinister human being. And I do love the line "dangerous pastime I know" as well. But I also like the entire thing there, and I feel like the sequence itself is really, really strong to captivate an audience and drag them into a villain that has become so iconic. Moving on from that, we get into Something There.
There's something sweet and almost kind, but he was mean and he was coarse and unrefined, and now he's dear and so unsure. I wonder why I didn't see it there before.
And this is basically one of the best time skips in movie making history. It establishes that Belle has been at the castle for months, and it's that whole month session where the whole seasonal session where it establishes the relationship between both Belle and the Beast.
Oh, I love Something There. I
Yeah.
think that up to this point, we've seen the Beast just kind of shut himself down. And then once this song comes up, he transitions into a different person. You can see that Belle is actually getting to him. And then all of like Cogsworth and Lumiere and all Mrs. Potts, they could see that this is happening so that they're more excited and finally realizing like this could be it. This is something is happening and it's super exciting, and maybe she can be the one that's going to break the curse for them. And so they just sing about it, and it's a lot of fun.
It's a very, very, very upbeat, happy song, and honestly, you don't get a lot of them in this movie. You don't get a lot of huge happy moments in this movie because the next song is a slow song and then we get very dark. So this is just a glimmering piece of light in this film that I adore to death.
Something There works because it is the moment where, all right, this is the character development song, basically. It's the song that shows the audience the Beast is becoming kinder. The visuals and the way that the Beast is drawn is a lot less harsher. But in terms of just the song, it works because, one, Robbie Benson sells it. He is absolutely able to sell the emotion of it. And it's the first time you really hear, hey, the Beast. It's the first time you are able to hear inside the Beast that there is a human, that there was a man there, and that these two are starting to fall in love. And that's where I think it works really well. The inclusion of Mrs. Potts and Lumiere and Cogsworth singing, going, "Oh my God, this could happen," works. Pedro Harris, like, we're not going to talk about. I'm not going to compare it to the remake at all, but there is a reason why in this song it works. Pedro Harris' voice here works, and when Emma Watson sang it, it didn't work. And that's here because Pedro Harris is able to be a thing I said was Pedro Harris feels natural. This feels as though this is just her naturally singing. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel as though we are listening to a auto tune or anything. It's natural. It feels like it's Pedro Harris, and that's why I love this song.
Yeah, it feels natural indeed, indeed, indeed. Jacob, I'm gonna go back to you. What do you rate something there?
Something there's definitely a rockin'. Like
Yeah,
it's rockin'.
yeah. Vanessa, what do you rate it?
It's rocking for me as well.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I think we're going 3 straight rockins. This one is a masterstroke. Then we move on to arguably the most famous Disney song of all time, Beauty and the Beast.
Tale as old as time, true as it can be.
Okay, I'm just straight up telling you all now, Beauty and the Beast is the best song Disney have ever released. Like, it is perfect. Everything about the context of this song works so well. This is the moment where Belle dresses up in the yellow gown, Beast wears the suit, and they just have a dance. And they go into the ballroom and have a dance. And in the film, it works perfect. But what works so well about this song particular is Angela Lansbury wasn't gonna do it. She didn't want to do it. They were gonna put the Celine Dion version over the top of this song, and the director and everyone begged her, please do one take, and that's the one that they got, and that's the version that they use in the film, and that is just like, you don't plan this. This just works. You can't make this stuff up. And when they try it, I'm sorry, but when they try, we have seen a film try and do it again, and it doesn't work, and it just doesn't feel as strong. And what I love about this, and this to me is my favorite scene in Hollywood, in filmmaking. This scene right here, from when Belle is on top of the stairs to when when Chip goes into the cupboard, that right there, is my favorite scene in Hollywood history. I think that is the best filmmaking you will ever see, because it is just a moment that could get cut from a movie. Like any other film, that could get cut. That's the song that could get cut. You cut that because you save some time. But this is the moment where you see the two have fallen in love. This is the moment. This is the whole point of this movie, and it just works perfectly. The song itself is beautiful. Her voice, it makes it perfect. Like you cannot. Angela Lansbury is the only one who could ever sing this song. Like, no one else could, and we will get to someone else singing it, and no one else can, because it just works. Like it just works. I can't illustrate why it works so perfectly, but it does. The scene itself has a game changer of a shot, which is the shot of the crane going down and while seeing change cinema. Like, that just, what have I just seen? Like it, yeah. Sorry, I could gush for the next 15 minutes about the scene, and I'm going to stop myself there.
Well, I mean, I think we both. It's just, look, that crane sequence that you're seeing was actually Pixar. They did the 3D animation for that scene, and it was still when computer animation was still in its infancy. And I echo Jacob's statements a lot. Angela Lansbury is this song. Without this song, and without her, you don't have this song. This could have easily been a Somewhere Over the Rainbow kind of situation, where it could have been cut from the film, like it was almost cut in Wizard of Oz. But I'm so glad they kept it. I'm so glad that they didn't put Celine Dion in here for obvious reasons. And we got what I too think is probably one of the top 10 moments in cinematic history. It really, really is. Vanessa, what are your thoughts on Beauty and the Beast?
Just thinking about it, like it gives me tears. Like every time I watch it, it just like brings tears to my eyes, because it's so much heartfelt. Like there's just so much raw emotion, and you can hear that in Angela Lansbury's voice as well when she's singing it. And I totally agree. I think that without Angela Lansbury, this song kind of doesn't work. Essentially, she is the beauty to the beast of this song, and it just makes me well up and cry every time I listen to it. And it's such a good song.
Really, really is. It's beautiful.
It's It's like one of those, like, you know how there's certain things from pulp culture and movies that are like, if you've never seen that movie before, you know exactly what movie that's from because of that. And this is what Beauty and the Beast does. It's like this song and this iconic scene is so pivotal in pulp culture that anybody would know exactly what this is.
The ballroom, you just show somebody a screenshot of the ballroom and them in the tuxedo and the yellow dress, and they know exactly what movie you are talking about without even ever seeing it. And you know what? We're gonna go around the board, even though I don't think we need to. I'm giving this one of the most easiest rockins any song in the series of Suddenly soundtracks has ever gotten. Vanessa, back to you. What do you give this?
I give this a one-time listen. No, I'm
Okay.
totally kidding. It's a rockin'. The song is rockin' 100% all the way.
And Jacob, let us hear it. What do you give it?
Vanessa stole my joke, but yeah, I'm giving it. Give it. This is the easiest rockin' I will give all night. It is easy.
Yeah. And oh my god, that song was so beautiful. And then we get into probably the darkest song in the entire film, the mob song.
The mist through the woods, through the darkness and the shadows. It's a nightmare, but it's one exciting ride.
This is the penultimate song. I love this song so much, and actually there's a lot of echoes in here with if you've ever seen Pocahontas with Savages borrows a lot from this song. This song is actually a trendsetter, and it actually it's just so there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of anger in this song. The lyrics are so angry, so hate-filled. But the actual song itself and the drive of the song and how this scene progresses, I find myself rewinding the movie to watch this scene again because it's so well orchestrated, and I love this song, and it's a regular in my shuffle. This song is just so well written, even though it's hate-filled and it's angry. It just has so much drive and rhythm that you just can't stop listening to it. Jacob, what are your thoughts on the mob song?
What I love about the mob song especially is the lyrics. The lyrics is what makes this song work so well because it's kind of like poetic and funny, but at the same time very, very dark. But the way, like I was saying earlier, the way that the song transitions into Gaston going, you really see Gaston's power within the town and why everyone believes in him and why everyone like so willing to follow him. And that's why this is the song that establishes no, Gaston is the villain. Like no one, like Gaston up until this point was the guy who was trying to get Belle, and we all knew he kind of was the villain. And natural storytelling, he's the bad guy. But this is the song that goes, nope, yep, he's the bad guy, he's the villain. He is just doing it, and you can understand why the town were tricked, and you can understand where everyone's coming from in this song, and that's why I really, really love it.
Completely agree with you, Jacob. And actually, the baritone of Richard White and the notes that he hits during this song and how deep he can belt, and his voice in general throughout this entire song is show-stopping. And I just love Gaston's voice in this song. It just gives you shivers down your spine.
Okay. Within the movie it works, and I love that it's in the movie and stuff, but it just doesn't really work for me when I listen to it by itself. It just kind of is there to pass the time within the song and the movie to transition you to another part of the movie. And I mean, I love Gaston, and I love that he is so angry and he just wants Belle. And because he can't get Belle, he's just like, you know what? I'm going to be destructive and I'm going to go and find this beast and kill him. But there's like it makes me laugh too, because all of these people from town are like, yeah, we gotta go get this person, but it's like he's been there forever. You guys don't know. I don't know. It doesn't really do anything when I listen to it.
It's the magic of opinion for film. And you know what? I'm actually gonna throw it to you, Jacob. What do you give Mob Song?
I'm giving Mob Song a rocking. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's dark, it's serious, but it's an enjoyable listen.
Indeed. I too give Mob Song a rockin' to the end of time. I love the rhythm and I love the energy of this song. Vanessa, you have differing opinions. What is your score?
I give it a one-time listen. I think that you should listen to it, but um, it just doesn't. It's not up to par with all of the other songs that I love on this soundtrack.
I can completely see where you're coming from. After the Mob Song is done, basically Gaston gets killed and the Beast dies from his wound that Gaston has given him. But but Belle, last minute, shows the Beast true love, and he transforms back into his prince self. You guys, everybody knows this story. It seems cliche, and it probably is a little cliche, but it works so well in this film. And you get this transformation sequence and this huge finale where all of the objects that you've seen turn back into human, and the Belle and the Beast get married and they dance in that same ballroom that we saw in Beauty and the Beast. Again, it is reprised in a major key and with a huge chorus singing behind them, and it just gives the film a great big bow. And I feel like musically, especially when you're listening to the soundtrack, it's like 5 minutes of score and like 30 seconds of song, but it all works because that score tells you what exactly is happening through the music itself, and it is beautiful.
Oh, I love the transformation because with even without the visuals that you see from the movie, you can kind of feel that emotion within the song throughout the chorus, and then it ends with the bang with the reprise of Beauty and the Beast, and it just makes it all perfect and happy, and you get that happily ever after that you wanted for Belle and for the Beast. And so it starts off with this heartfelt like what's gonna happen, and then it just grows and grows and grows, and then you just get that grand finale at the end.
Yeah, as I said, it's important that a film ends on a high note. Jacob, what are your thoughts on the finale and the soundtrack version?
In the film, it works fantastic. In the soundtrack, it's way too long. It's way too long. Like, and if you just, and especially as the last, like, if it's, I've always been weirded about when listening to a soundtrack just at the music of a soundtrack, and then you've got one track that is just score, except for literally 30 seconds at the end of the song. To me, it's you're not in that headspace to listen to that at that moment. So I think, to me, in terms of the film, it works fantastic in terms of a soundtrack. And when you're going, hey, I'm going to listen to the Beauty and the Beast soundtrack and just listen to the songs, it doesn't work. And to me, it's not good. It's not that good.
I actually feel like it might have been better had they just made the 30-second portion at the end its own separate track, because I feel like that whole section there is so iconic and so, because you get everybody as human form gathering around them as they're dancing. It just brings a good bookend to the actual film itself. So this is a very interesting situation. I feel like even though I love it, I can see Jacob's points, and I would recommend you download it. For me, I mean, I love the instrumentation, but it's not there at rockin' level for me. Vanessa, what do you give this?
I too give it a download. Like, as much as I do love it and I love listening to it on the soundtrack for myself, I feel like it doesn't have as much as like all of the other songs that are rockin', and I think that it is a download for me.
Jacob, this one's gonna be rough for you. What do you give it?
I'm giving it a one-time listen. It's good enough to at least listen to it once and go, all right, that's where the film ends, and it's good. The score is good. It's just not in the context of listening to the songs in the soundtrack. Like, it's a great score, but in the context of listening to this soundtrack, I don't think it works.
Well, now all the praises left the room. This one is still okay. So basically, in the early '90s, actually, this is the trendsetter. This is the first one to do it, and then every preceding Disney film in the '90s did this. Is where they would record probably the most popular song from the film with a pop artist and tack it on at the end for the credits. In this case, it was actually recorded by a pop artist to be included into the actual scene itself, but they decided to push it to the credits because of Angela Lansbury's take. And you know what? Thank God. I love Celine Dion. I love Celine Dion, but her singing Beauty and the Beast shouldn't exist.
Tale as old as time, true as it can be.
I mean, look, I love It's All Coming Back to Me Now. It's one of my favorite songs of all time, but this is not It's All Coming Back to Me Now. And I feel like, oh God, like this is one of the worst of this whole Disney Renaissance pop artist songetry that they did. The best is obviously in Lion King, where they actually had Elton John sing some of his actual songs, and that made sense. This doesn't make any sense to me why they got Celine Dion. Maybe they just wanted marquee value for singles. I have no idea, but this is a travesty. Vanessa, what are your thoughts on Celine Dion? And actually, she does a duet with, I can't even pronounce his name, Pioba Bryan. Is that how you, Piablo?
I don't know how to
Piabo
say.
Bryson, by the looks of it. But I don't know.
Okay, well,
I think that's
let's just call it Celine Dion. Let's just call it Celine Dion. Okay, cool.
It is known as the Celine Dion version, so.
Okay, cool. So, I'm gonna cut all of that out. I'll be sure of it. Vanessa, what are your thoughts on the Celine Dion version of Beauty and the Beast?
it's no Angela Lansbury. That's for sure. I was never really big into these ones when I was little. Like when this song came out and Celine Dion sang it, and I was like, all right, like cool, sure, I guess. Like I just didn't feel, and it didn't have the same feeling that you have it when you have it in the movie and you're listening to it. It just was there, and it's like the same thing with the live action version when they have Ariana Grande doing it with John Legend. I'm just like, oh, sure, like, it doesn't really do anything for the movie. It's just kind of there.
Yeah, and apparently they didn't learn from their mistakes. Like 20 years later, thank you guys. Like, geez. Jacob, rip this a new asshole.
Okay. It's bad. It's bad. I'm going to say, but again, it is still Beauty and the Beast. Like, the lyrics are still there. The music is still there. It's just, they change it too much. And it just, like, I don't think this is one of the worst, like, oh my God, it's terrible. It's absolutely one of the worst things that come out of Beauty and the Beast. I don't think it is. We will talk about that. But I think that the problem with this is that we have the perfect version. This is the other version. If we never had the Angela Lansbury version, I don't think people would hate on this one as much as they do. But and I think Disney made a very or the filmmakers, I should say, as well, made a very, very intelligent decision of, this is the credit song. And you know what? As a credit song, as a song that is played over the credits, and as a song that is, hey, this is just the version of the film as you walk out, okay, I can live with that. That's not that bad. It's not the worst thing. If it was in the actual movie and played in the actual scene, then we're having a different discussion. But as a thing that is just a pop song as you walk out of the theater, I can live with that. I can understand, and I can live with it. I preferred Paige O'Hara do the version like she wanted to. Yes, I would have. I would have much preferred that. But I can understand, all right, you went with, again, Celine Dion was unknown at the time. She wasn't Celine Dion at that point. She hadn't done Titanic. She was, an unknown Canadian singer who, hey, all right, we'll give her a chance. And I can see, I can understand that.
Yeah, like, look, I love Celine Dion, I really do, but I feel like even she couldn't save this. I would say skip it. I'm giving this one a skip it. I do not care for it. I just these pop songs, there's only like one or two that I really like, and just kind of the Elton John stuff on Lion King, and this isn't one of them. Well, I have to actually wait for Jacob because he's in my framing. There we go. There we go. Okay, cool. 3, 2, 1. I mean, I have this for myself. Like, Celine Dion can't save this. I like Celine Dion a lot, but I feel like it's just not there for me. And knowing with the comparison, you have to compare it to the Angela Lansbury version. This is probably one of my least favorite, if not my least favorite, of the Popeyes like Disney songs for the after credits. I give it a skip it. I just don't care for it. Vanessa, what do you give it?
I skip it as well.
Yeah. Jacob, what do you actually give it?
It's still Beauty and the Beast. I give it a one-time listen. Like I listen to it at least once in your life. Just, like I think it's a one-time listen.
I completely see your point, and it still is Beauty and the Beast. It's the polished turd at that point. So I mean, it's at least Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, I completely understand. So guys, this is a new section called Keep It or Cut It, and there's only one song in this section, and it is a biggie. All right, cool. So when Beauty and the Beast was re-released in the late 90s and remastered, a new song was added that was actually cut and storyboarded and recorded for the original release, and they cut it from the film due to pacing. And by God, it was obvious why this one was cut. This is called Human Again. Human Again is essentially redundant. It's a really redundant song. We know that these objects want to become human, and you get that through Be Our Guest. You get that through great dialogue. You get that through scenes that actually mean something to the plot. In this song, Human Again, you just get an average song, I would say. I don't really consider Human Again that great of a song in particular. And it's really long. It's almost just as long as Be Our Guest. And it's really, 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 really slogging. And it's just a slog to get through. Musically, it's not as inspired as the other tracks on the soundtrack. And the animation is jarring when you see it actually in the actual film, because the animation looks a lot better than the other animation in the film. And it just doesn't match the style, and it just sticks out like a Jabba the Hutt sequence in A New Hope. So yeah, this one's pretty rough.
I don't care for this song. When they decided that they wanted to do this song too, I was like, well, you don't add things to something that's already perfect, So it's just, I don't care for it.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on this one. And Jacob, let us have it. What do you think of Human Again?
Get rid of this fucking awful piece of shit song. I'm sorry. Okay, something there does everything Human Again does. Like, it is literally just rewriting something there, because the whole point of something there is to illustrate that these two are falling in love, and oh my god, because of this we could be human again. That's the point of adding them at the end of something there. It doesn't need to be added, and it cuts from the flow of the movie. That's the worst part. The song itself isn't that bad, but the problem with where the song is placed in the special edition of the movie is it cuts from the flow of something there. Something there ends with maybe there's something there that wasn't there, and then it cuts into Beauty and the Beast of the waltz and the ballroom, which flows perfectly, because the whole point of something there is maybe they're falling in love, and then Beauty and the Beast is they have fallen in love. If you add Human Again is, oh my god, we're going to be human again because they have. But we the audience haven't seen that yet. We've seen that there's a chance that they have, and that's what annoys me and frustrates me about this song, is because when they added it, and what frustrated me the most was this was the version of the film that I had to watch. It was like the Star Wars special edition. This was the version of the film I had to watch because of the Disney Vault, and you had no choice. This was the version I had for a while, and then when they finally re-released it again on Blu-ray, I could get the proper version. And so that's what helped me, and that's why I fell in love with this, and that's why I hate that song so much, is because it completely trumps a version of that song, of the story. It hurts the progression of the story, and that's why it frustrates me so much.
Human Again actually does work. It works in the actual Broadway version, because actually Human Again is actually the intro, the opening number of Act 2, while Be Our Guest is the finale of Act 1. So you actually get that kind of on Broadway, because they added a bunch of other songs that I really love on the Broadway version. I'm glad they're not in the movie, but on Broadway, this actually works really well. As you said, this really brings down that something there sequence, just because you're spending too much time in this time period. Something there already established it, and it just the word of the day is redundant, and redundancy is a terrible thing to have in a movie. And because it's redundant, and because the song itself, for me and my personal taste, is kind of mediocre compared to the rest of the score, I just say, you know what, cut it. You gotta cut that sucker. Vanessa, cut it or keep it.
I cut it. It
Yeah.
doesn't work with the movie.
Nope, not at all. Jacob, do I even have to ask?
Nope, get rid of that freaking thing.
Cut it, cut it, cut it. 3 ways to Sunday. All right, guys. This is the final portion of the show, ladies and gentlemen, now, where we rank each song from worst to best. And there aren't that many songs here. There's only 10. And this is a lot more of a breeze than, let's say, Across the Universe, where there was 26. This is going to be awesome, guys, and I love you guys for choosing this film, because this is going to be so easy. All right, Jacob, I'm going to start with you. Worst to best, Beauty and the Beast. Go for it.
The worst is Beauty and the Beast by Celine Dion. That's the worst. Number 10. Number 9, Transformation, just based on the soundtrack. That's the one that I would... Number 8, Gaston Reprise. Number 7, based on the soundtrack version, is Gaston. Number 6 is Belle Reprise. Number 5, The Mob Song. Number 4, Something There. Number 3, Be Our Guest. Number 2, Belle. And number 1, of course, is Beauty and the Beast.
Of course. Vanessa, let's hear your list. Go for it.
Okay, so at number 10, I have The Mob Song. Number 9, I have the Celine Dion version of Being the Beast. At number 8, I have the Gaston Reprise. At number 7, I have the Belle Reprise. And number 6, I have the Transformation. At number 5, I have Gaston. At number 4, I have Belle. At number 3, I have Be Our Guest. At number 2, I have Beauty and the Beast. And then I have Something There at number 1, because I really, really like that song.
Something There is a keeper indeed. For myself, the worst is obviously, I think we have straight threes. Beauty and the Beast by Celine Dion. Then Transformation Finale. Then the Belle Reprise. Then the Gaston Reprise. Then Be Our Guest. Then, of course, as you mentioned, Something There. Love that song. And then the top 4 are Beauty and the Beast, what I consider to be the seminal Disney song of all time. At number 3, I have Belle. At number 2, I have Gaston. And at number 1, I actually have The Mob Song. Me and Vanessa are on 2 opposite planes. I love The Mob Song, and I feel like there's a lot of rhythm there and a lot of juicy lyrics and vocalizations that I just cannot get enough of.
Overall, Beauty and the Beast is rocking.
Alright, guys, so that concludes this episode of Suddenly Soundtracks, focused on 1991's Beauty and the Beast. We judged the movie solely based on the soundtrack that it provides, and by God, this was a fun one. Vanessa, what are your final thoughts on Beauty and the Beast?
Just reiterating that Being the Beast is my all-time favorite Disney movie ever, and it's definitely in my top 5 movies of all time as well. And it's just such a iconic movie, and I can listen to the soundtrack and I can watch the movie all day, every day.
Indeed. Jacob, what are your final thoughts on Beauty and the Beast?
Reiterating what just basically reiterating what Vanessa said. Beauty and the Beast is just one of those all-time fantastic, greatest films of all time. This is my all-time favorite Disney film. This is my 4th favorite film of all time. And the soundtrack is one of the great Disney soundtracks.
Yeah. I echo both of their statements entirely. It is a great soundtrack and one of my favorite personal musicals of all time as well. It's actually my 2nd favorite Disney musical after Hunchback of Notre Dame. And this musical, just entirely with Howard Ashman and Alan Menken brought to it, just brings it up through spades. And the lyrics, the animation, the acting, the voices. As a movie itself, it's phenomenal. As a soundtrack by itself, with just the score and just the music itself, still holds true to this day. So guys, this has been Suddenly Soundtracks. Jacob, where can the good people find you online?
You guys can find me on Facebook and Twitter at Jacob Blunden, and you guys can find me hosting the Reactors Summit at 3 p.m. every Monday right here on Take 3 Productions.
Awesome. Vanessa, where can the good people find you online?
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Late to the Party. And then you can catch us on the Schmodown.
Indeed.
Every once in a while.
Just the one match kind of still haunts me to this day, but they are still great friends of mine. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChrisClark8788. Those numbers mean nothing. You can find Suddenly Soundtracks every Wednesday here on Take 3 Productions. Next week, we are going through Newsies with, again, another member of Late to the Party, Tim Franco. Do not miss out. But anyway, guys, you can also find me on YouTube at No Man's Land Entertainment. And every Saturday, I produce and edit the Schmodown Rundown on SK+. So, guys, keep rocking, take care, and let's rock this sucker.